of the things that makes these old cars, these Mustangs and hot rods and whatnot, such joys to work on is they're simple cars. The front end of an old Mustang, it does not take a whole lot of tools, and it does not take a whole lot of time to disassemble. As far as the front end goes, all you got to do is basically just get underneath the front of the car with like a 1/2-inch wrench or a 1/2-inch socket and a 7/16 socket, and that'll lower down the front valance panel. That's basically the panel that you want to remove first. You'll unplug the wiring and whatnot. Then inside the fender, just behind the bumper, you're going to see the side areas where the front valance gets lowered down and removed. So if you take that and set that out of the way, then the next step you're going to have is the disassembly of, say, the front bumper and the grille. You're going to start loosening up a few bolts that are on the inside of the fender well that meet the fender apron. There's 2 bolts just behind the headlamp assembly that you'll take off. Do that on both sides. And then from there you're just going to move on to, there's only about, there's got only about 15 bolts that hold on the fender of a Mustang. But once you've done that, you got to take the front bumper off. There's a couple of end brackets that surround the fenders on the front bumper. And then you're just going to have the 4 bolts that run down the middle of the bumper. It's really a simple thing. I mean, cars back then were just made so simple, and that's half the reason why I love working on these things. They're simple cars to work on, and who doesn't like doing that? And then just carefully remove the bumper, slide it out, so this way you don't scratch your fenders. You know, just in case you're taking the fender off for another reason, you don't want to be scratching your fender. In this case, we're taking the fenders off and removing the nose of this car to replace the fenders. Now at this point, what we're doing is we're removing the grill, the bumper filler panel, which is the white piece that's between the bumper and the grill. They're called upper stone deflectors, or they're called bumper fillers. And it's attached just by maybe a 6 bolts. There's not a whole lot holding it on. And same thing here. You'll kind of just slowly pull it and get out of the way, because if you're taking it apart to access something, you want to get into the habit of taking it apart without scratching it. And again, in this case, we're taking it apart because we're going to replace it. But it's a good habit to get into, to take something apart as if you're going to reuse it again. You'll pull out the headlights, and then behind the headlight you'll have a couple of plugs there that you'll unplug, and that'll unplug the park light that's in the front. And that's how you'll unplug that. And then you'll kind of just gently push the wires through to the back of the headlamp assembly to get them out of the way. And don't worry about you know, getting snipped or cut. You know, there's plenty of room for those to clear. Just be real careful of what you're doing, like everything else here. And at this point, we're basically going to just start removing the grill of the car. There's a series of bolts below the grill that surround the opening itself. And there's a couple at the top that he's taken off right now. And then you'll really just slide the thing up. It's actually in there so easy. The fog light ones, the cars that have fog lights, a little bit tougher to get out. But for the most part, it's just unplugging a few extra wires to get those out too. And they do have a couple of extra brackets, so be careful and watch yourself. But once you get those top bolts out and those rear inner side bolts out, it's basically just a piece of cake to just slide it up. You'll work it up nice and easy because it does slide out of there. And again, if you're looking to do this without scratching the car, well, take your time because it can be done. And it just slides up, and then next thing you're going to do is start taking out the support. Now that's the latch support right there. Which not only holds the latch, it supports the grill, it supports the grill support that holds up the grill, and it actually gives the radiator support a lot of strength too, because it ties the bottom of the radiator support together with the top of the radiator support. And now what you'll end up doing, pulling out the 2 moldings. There's just a Phillips screw on each side, and a couple of clips that just kind of hold them at the bottom, and they'll snap out of there. and you can just place those out of the way. And now, at this point here, there's just a bolt on each side to slide that grill support out. See, these cars come apart so simple. That is, you know, a simple socket set at home in your garage, and you could have the whole front end of your Mustang apart. You got a couple of Phillips screws that surround the headlight door itself, and then there's 4 bolts that actually hold the headlamp extension in, and that's what he just removed there. Take those off, place those to the side, and now you're really just down to removing the fenders themselves, which is going to be a matter of taking off the top bolts. There's a few bolts on the inside. You got the ones that are behind the park light there, and ones that are just above the park light, behind the headlamp assembly. You use a 1/2 inch socket on those. Take your time. You're not in any big hurry. Yeah, now we're getting down to actually removing the fender of the car. That didn't take long. I mean, there was a few pieces to remove on the front, but for the most part, it's pretty easy. At the heel of the fender towards the back, there's going to be a bolt back there that you're going to want to take off that goes into the rocker. Just got one there. Then on the inside of the car, you'll remove the scuff plate and the kick panel, and there'll be a hole behind there so you can access same thing. There's a nut back there that you can put a 1/2 inch socket on, basically, because the stud comes through the side firewall there and actually braces the fender to the side of the car. So it's actually a good one to have on there. Make sure you reuse it. And then you'll come and you'll just unbolt the top of the fender. Got about 6 bolts there that hold the top of the fender in. Take your time, because those clips can end up being somewhat rusty, and they'll twist. So use some WD-40 or use some sort of a solvent on there, so this way the bolts kind of just more or less come right out of there. And then once you get all those bolts out at the top, you're going to want to make sure your antenna is loose, and then just gently pull the fender away from the car. Pull it away from the door. Again, in the interest of maybe pulling the fender off without scratching the rest of the car, because maybe you're just replacing the fender, or you just got to get back there. You don't want to scratch the rest of your car. So same thing here. On the driver's side, you'll get to the inside bolt, you'll get to the lower heel bolt. You'll unbolt the top of the fender where the apron is, and that's where your VIN number is over there on that side. Good chance to check your VIN numbers at this point once you get those fenders off of there. Take a look. And then just gently pull the fender away from the car.